Yay, recording. Matthew 21. Jesus has already done the triumphal entry. Now he's in Jerusalem. We're in the Passion Week now. This is where it starts to come down. So we're going to pick up Matthew 21:23. Kevin, do you mind reading? And do I have it big enough?
Yeah, probably could go up a notch too. And when he entered the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people came up to him. And he was teaching and said, what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority?
Okay, let's stop. Remember, they have a hard time hearing us if we don't speak real loudly. The authority question is a rabbinic question. That's why they do it. And the rabbis, you give a teaching and you do it on the authority of so and so. And they're asking Jesus, "What's your authority?" We know you. Come on in. Oh, I like the sunglasses, man. And it's because you're not on our group. And that's also often how you'd go at something. I don't recognize his authority and stuff. So by whose authority, what authority are you doing these things? Jesus answered, Kevin.
I also will ask you one question, and if you tell me the answer, then I will tell you by what authority I do these things. Baptism of John, from where did it come from? Heaven or from man?
Well, let's just pause for a second. So Jesus is tossing it back on, right? And he knows full well. First of all, notice who it is. Chief priests and the elders. These are representatives of the Sanhedrin. And it's pretty clear he's getting set up. Because you kick over tables in the temple, you're going to rile some folk. And this is just the next day. And they're coming after him. And they're doing it subtly, but they're coming after him. And now we get, and he knows he'll tell us, Matthew will tell us. Go ahead.
And they discussed it among themselves, saying, if we say from heaven, he will say to us, why then did you not believe in him? But if we say from man, we are afraid of the crowd, for they all hold that John was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, we do not know.
We don't know. Stupid little cowards.
I wish that all of my students in class would take that much time to consider what they said. It'd be nice if they would think through that answer before they tossed it out there. Sorry.
All right, man, whatever you. And Jesus' response.
And he said to them, neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things.
So he knew they didn't hold John to be a prophet, but the people did. And remember, this is a big deal because prophecy had stopped. And to hold that John is a prophet, they were entering into a different era. Okay. And they don't like it. The leaders don't like it because that's their authority. There's no prophets today. What if a guy came from Spyro, came in here and started talking, claimed to be a prophet, but then was doing stuff? The leadership might be a little hesitant and probably would be hesitant because he's doing his teaching is kind of strange. Yeah, he's doing signs. There's no denying that. But we don't think prophets exist anymore. So we're not going to do this. And that's where they are. They're in this cop between a rock and a hard place. And he traps them. He said, no, he's a prophet. All right. So now what happens? He's going to go on. All right. You want to be that way? Jeff Hunt, can you read, or is that too much for your phone?
I don't know. You'll have to tell me. But
Well,
I'll
go
try.
ahead.
What do you think? A man had two sons, and he went to the first and said, son, go and work in the vineyard today. And he answered, I will not. But afterward, he changed his mind and went. And he went to the other son and said the same. And he answered, I go, sir, but did not go. Which of the two did the will of his father?
No,
They
notice
said,
who's
the
answering.
first. Jesus said to them,
Wait, Jeff. Can you hear me now? Jeff?
I don't know what you said. Just
I
keep
said-
reading.
No, I said, wait.
Oh, okay.
So he's getting the very the people coming after him, he's setting up with this. He said, so which of the two did the will of his father? And they said, the first. Okay. You may continue, Jeff.
Jesus said unto them, truly I say to you, the tax collectors and the prostitutes go into the kingdom of God before you.
Now
For
pause.
John came.
Pause. Sorry. Look what he just said. What do we know about their opinion of tax collectors? Tax collectors and the prostitutes. Jesus has this subtle, Jesus was nice to everybody. Didn't you know that? The tax collectors and the prostitutes go into the kingdom before you. Wow. That's a slap in the face. Why does he say that, Mr. Hunt? Verse 32, continue.
For John came to you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him, but the tax collectors and the prostitutes believed him. And even when you saw it, you did not afterward change your minds and believe him.
You won't even reconsider a position. This is going to hurt you. Now, this is a little, Jesus is being intentionally antagonistic because he said, this is the bat last week. He's setting up what's coming down the pike. And no, I'm not going to play anymore. You guys are,
So is that how it relates to the parable? Because he's saying that the first son changed his mind and willing to reconsider his position and change his mind and then go to the field? Or like, how does that relate to the,
well, they are obviously the second son.
their second? Oh, okay.
You guys say you're going to do it, but then don't. And remember, the Pharisees are the closest to Jesus, but he has no love lost for them. He said, you set up these rules that nobody can follow, and you don't follow. And they make everybody twice as worthy. No. And the first group, the guy said, no, I'm not going to do it, but then they do because they believe Jesus, the tax collectors, the prostitutes. But they changed their mind, and you're refusing to do that. He's not done. Let's just start this a little bit further. Kenny, can you pick up with the parable of the tenants, please?
Here another parable.
Oh, wait, pause for a second. What's the function of a parable? Guys, that's not a secret code. Come on.
Are you asking for the point?
Why speak parables?
Explain ideas.
Okay,
He also,
To make religious people mad.
make religious people mad.
there's some area in the Bible where he was telling them that, because it was knowledge that some of them would receive and others wouldn't.
Yeah, he does. He makes it clear in one place. Why are you talking parables? So they won't understand. And then another place, why are you talking parables? So they will understand. Okay. I see how that works.
It's because it can apply differently to different people depending upon where you are in life. And he knew that it was going to be timeless.
Yeah, that's all part of it. Everything you said is true. I liken a parable to a metaphor. I mean, it is an extended metaphor, but he tells parables because it's a way to get past people's defenses. If you just point blank, like, the tax collectors and prostitutes are better than you, but if you tell a parable, you get around people's built-in defenses. A vision does the same thing. They'll have a vision and it's this obscure sight. And the whole point is you're too busy figuring it out to have your defenses up. So he's telling a parable to get around their defenses because they're engaged in the story. And it's too late by the time they figure it out. Oh. Anyway, so who was reading?
The rest of the night saying, I wish it would have said this.
Yes. Kenny, you were reading, right? Let's, yeah.
Hear another parable. There was a master of a house who planted a vineyard and put a fence around it and dug a wine press in it and built a tower and leased it to tenants and went into another country. When the season for fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the tenants to get his fruit. And the tenants took his servants and beat one, killed another, and stoned another. Again, he sent other servants, more than the first, and they did the same to them. Finally, he sent his son to them, saying, they will respect my son. But when the tenants saw the son, they said to themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him and have his inheritance. And they took him and threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. When therefore the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those tenants?
We see the obvious connection with the son. They don't. And then he asks them, well, what's going to happen? Verse 41.
They said to him, he will put those wretches to a miserable death and let out the vineyard to other tenants who will give him the fruits of their seasons.
We'll get the climax here and we'll let Janie, why don't you read?
Jesus said to them, have you never read the scriptures? The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore, I tell you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people producing its fruit.
Pause. I mean, hear what he's saying. You guys are Sanhedrin. Your teachers are blah, 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 blah. The kingdom of God will be taken away from you. That's not the way to win friends and influence people, as a rule. I mean, he's throwing eggs and he wants them to hear this. He's also truth. He's speaking out of love. That's what we got to remember. Because it sounds like he's just picking a fight, but he's speaking in love. He wants them to hear this. It should be given to a people producing its fruits. Verse 44.
And the one who falls on this stone will be broken to pieces, and when it falls on anyone, it will crush him.
Okay. Not a whole lot of ambiguity in this. Still, same me, Julie.
And the chief priests and the Pharisees heard his parables. They perceived that he was speaking about them.
Duh. Don't.
And although they were seeking to arrest him, they feared the crowds because they held him to be a prophet.
We don't make much of that, but this is a big, big deal. As I just said, we're entering. So when Jesus is talking about the kingdoms at hand, the fact that the people hold him to be a prophet makes them amenable to that teaching. Yeah, obviously we're in something that's happening here. I mean, you can almost hear the song, something's happening.
Is it because they were afraid they might be seeing it wrong, or is it was because they were afraid if they did something, it would start a riot?
The latter. Now, remember, some of the Pharisees, some of the people here believed in Jesus. So we're speaking in kind of blanket terms. But, when the Sanhedrin goes after him, he's got supporters. But as a rule, yes. Jesus isn't done. We're going to tell another parable. So the parable of the wedding feast. Jeff Jankowski. Did I catch him? Is he not there?
Come here. And again, Jesus spoke to them a parable, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son and sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come. Again, he sent other servants, saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But they paid no attention and went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them.
Hey, remember, this is a king. You go, what? Now, this is a parable. Okay, keep that in mind. He's talking in zeros and tens. But, okay, what just happened? Okay, Verse 7.
The king was angry, and he sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, the wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find. And those servants went out into the roads and gathered all whom they found, both bad and good. So the wedding hall was filled with guests.
I think we gloss over that. He's just taking anybody who'll come in. You know, All right, verse 11.
When the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there a man who had no wedding garment. And he said to him, friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, bind him hand and foot and cast him into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen.
What in the world is this about? As the aliens come to get us. What do you guys think? What's going on in this? This is different than all the others so far. Because even the audiences, he's like picking on everybody in this one. What do you think? He's not expecting someone to say something.
This reminds me of when Jesus was asking them to gather the fish. I'm picturing in the chosen. He's talking about gathering fish of all kinds, and he'll sort them. I think the thing that comes to my mind is, there are going to be a lot of people thinking they're saved, and some are going to be, thrown out.
Yeah, there's another aspect to that. You're absolutely right. He tells the parable of the wheat and tares. Oh my God, he sowed tares in the middle of this. You want to try to ruin it? No, let it. I'll come up, and when we harvest it, we'll separate them then. So he tells this idea more than once. In this kingdom, there are people that don't belong and be rejected ultimately. And in all those parables, somebody's willing to try to sort it out. And Jesus says, no, I'll sort it out later. So what's that lesson for us? We don't need to do sorting out people. Yeah, let them come in.
We embrace everything.
Right. Be in the church, part of the family, and God will sort it out at the end. Our job is to take them in and be family. And we'll all be surprised who gets rejected, I imagine, at some point. But it's easy to want to say, well, no, not you. No, we don't want you in here. So, I mean, we do a good job. We're working with John with the homeless and all that. It's counter to human nature because we like to be people who's around people that think like us, and we got to be willing. Well, but he doesn't think like us. She doesn't think like us. So interesting that he did it more than once. And he's talking to these Pharisees. You don't like the people that are coming here. And I acknowledge some of them are bad. Because this, if you notice, this is a twist on the people that got in. Pharisees got rejected. They got beat up and he burned the city. But now we're talking about the people who went in. So now Jesus is talking to his crowd that is on his side. Says, it's not everybody's going to get in. And we go, things that make you go, Tom, are you reading?
I will.
Thank you.
Then the Pharisees went and plotted how to entangle him in his words. And they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not?
Pause. Notice he included the Herodians. That's a political group. These are the people that are in power. Now, remember, it's not Herod the Great. He's dead. But this is Herod, Philippus, and all these guys. it's, the country's been divided into 4 regions. And the Romans are running Jerusalem because that son of Herod was so incompetent, they removed him. But you still got Philip up at Galilee, who's got it, and then some in Transjordan. So when it's Herodians, that's a political group. And they got the Herodians with them, and they're trying to trip him up on questions of Roman law. Now they're going after, they want to get Jesus where Rome will go after. Tax evasion. Huh. So is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? With the Roman representative right there.
I'm curious about, I've always been curious about something. Why did they probably were expecting him to say, you shouldn't pay taxes. Why would they be expecting him to say that?
Because he's a prophet and he doesn't seem to recognize authority. He won't recognize our authority. Why should he recognize Rome's? He's a popular guy. He's got a popular support group. And what's the popular view? This is the convoy in Canada. We're avoiding this stuff. And Jesus avoids, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Who was reading? Tom, you were, weren't you?
Yes.
Verse 18.
Right. But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, why put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax. And they brought him a denarius. And Jesus said to them, whose likeness and inscription is this? They said, Caesar's. And he said to them, therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God. When they heard it, they marveled, and they left him and went away.
He just threw it back. Such a brilliant answer, especially since they don't like human representation. So this, even having to deal with that and to recognize that he's playing against their, you guys think I'm stupid, I'm not. Come on. And he gives a non-answer, essentially. Caesar's give it to him. Now, we do have the other story where he paid a temple tax. That would be a Jewish tax. Remember, he had Peter go get the fish, and out of the mouth, there was a coin to pay the tax. So, I mean, he's not against taxes in principle, but Rome, we don't know. He just avoids the question and throws their hypocrisy back on themselves. And we're going, things that make you go, So that sound is really kind of off-putting. Rick,
Yes.
can you read for me? Let's pick up and you can ask about the resurrection. Verse 23 here.
Okay. The same day, Sadducees came to him who say there is no resurrection. And they asked him a question saying, Teacher, Moses said, if a man dies having no children, his brother must marry the widow and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers among us. The first married and died, and having no offspring, left his wife to his brother. So too, the second and third down to the 7th. After them all, the woman died. In the resurrection, therefore, of the 7, whose wife will she be? For they all had her.
All right, so this is classic theology on tap. They're out around a table having a beer, and they're setting Jesus up. You idiots that think there's a resurrection. How do you handle this? And Jesus says, here, hold my beer. And he's going to give him an answer. Go ahead, Rick.
Okay, but Jesus answered them, you are wrong, because you know neither the scriptures nor the power of God.
Okay, now let's pause for a second. That's them in your face. The Sadducees will run the priesthood. Don't forget that. They're in charge of the temple. They only hold to the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. That's all they hold in scripture. And he says, you don't know the scriptures nor the power of God. We're just going to zap you. And okay, verse 30.
Okay, for in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. And as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not God of the dead, but of the living. And when the crowd heard it, they were astonished at his teaching.
You can just see him and they go, ooh, 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 ooh. You get him, Jesus. Go, boy. That was a pretty good answer. And they're going, All right, verse 34. Renee, do you mind?
But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees.
Now, the Pharisees are going to eat that up. Pharisees, yeah, okay. So he's pretty good, but can he handle us?
They gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets.
Which is the standard Pharisaical answer, by the way. And notice he doesn't say anything. That's end of the story. We move on. Okay, oops, got me. Whit, can you read?
Now, I'm sorry, now while the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them a question, saying, what do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? They said to him, the son of David. He said to them, how is it then that David in the spirit calls him Lord, saying, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. If then David calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor from that day did anyone dare to ask him any more questions.
Okay, he shuts them up. But now it's going to turn violent. We're gonna take it in. So we're in chapter 23. We're going to keep going. We're making progress, Julie. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, the scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. It's an actual seat outside of the synagogue, and it's emblematic. He's saying they sit under his authority. So do and observe whatever they tell you. Wait a minute. How can you say that to everything that's gone on? Do what they say, not what they do. But not the works they do. Do what they say, not what they do. For they preach, but do not practice. They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to move them with their finger. They do all their deeds to be seen by others, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. You know the phylacteries are the boxes on the arms, the forehead when they pray, and the fringes of the garment. So all the outward tokens, they exaggerate. And they love the place of honor at feasts and the best seats in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces and being called rabbi by others. But you're not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher and you are all brothers. And call no man your father on heaven. Now that's kind of interesting. What do we call a priest? Some call him father. Okay. For you have one father and he's in heaven. Neither be called teachers or instructors, for you have one teacher, the Christ. Excuse me. Maybe this is what people were teaching me with deafness. The greatest among you shall be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Now, I pause. The Chosen has this great scene where Jesus enters Jerusalem the first time, and they're walking by the crucifixes on the way, and Jesus is just looking at it. Doesn't say anything, just, and he's thinking about what he knows is coming. That would be extremely tough. I think he knows he's going to go through this. You got to be humble. And but woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces, for you neither enter yourselves or let anybody else enter in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. This is again the Sanhedrin, the ones that have been going after him. So he knows what's going on. For you travel across sea and land to make a single proselyte. And when he becomes a proselyte, you make him twice as much a child of hell as you are. And it's actually hell there, Gehenna, and not Sheol. So he's talking about you make him twice a child of the place of eternal punishment as you yourselves are. Woe to you, blind guys. He's getting pissed off. Who says, if anyone swears by the temple, it is nothing. But if anyone swears by the gold of the temple, he's bound by his oath. You blind fools. If we weren't in Sunday school, I'd give you the Donald Vance interpretation, but that's okay. For which is greater, the gold or the temple which made the gold sacred? And you'd say, if anyone swears by the altar, it's nothing. But if anyone swears by the gift that is on the altar, he's bound by his oath. You blind men, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? So whoever swears by the altar swears by it and everything on it. And whoever swears by the temple swears by it and him who dwells in it. And whoever swears by heaven, swears by the throne of God and by him who sits upon it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. These you ought to have done without neglecting the others. You blind guide straining out a gnat and swallowing a camel. Do you get this is not, I don't think he was smiling. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. It's in the temple where this is taking place, out in the precincts. This is generating a crowd. And you know the people are going, yeah, you kill them. For you clean the outside of the cup and the plate, and the inside are full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, clean the inside of the cup and the plate, that the outside might also be clean. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you're like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly appear beautiful, but within are full of dead people's bones and all uncleanness. And so you also outwardly appear righteous to others, but within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. There's 7 of these woes. Woe to you, scribe and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you build the tombs of the prophets, decorate the monuments of the righteous, saying, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we have not taken part with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. Thus you witness against yourselves that you're sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of your fathers, you serpents, which are considered vile in that time. You brood of vipers, how are you to escape being sentenced to hell? Again, the place of judgment, not just Sheol, actual hell. Therefore, I send you prophets and wise men and scribes, some of whom you get. So notice, scribes can't be good guys. Some of whom you will kill and crucify, some you will flog in your synagogues and persecute from town to town, so that on you may come all the righteous blood shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the sanctuary and the altar. Truly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. He's talking about what's going to happen to the church after this is only it's a week away, and he's going to be dead, and all Hades is going to break loose. All Gehenna, to use the word that he just used.
So right there, when you pointed out, he said scribes and, I'm sorry, 3 prophets and wise men and scribes. It sounds at first like he's talking about those they've already, but he's talking about.
He's talking about legitimate.
These are the disciples that you're going to kill.
Yeah, I'm sending these on among you, and you're going to prophets, wise men, scribes. All right, so we're going to stop here at 23:37 because it's 15 after. And some of you have to go. I want us to pray for what's your daughter's name? Teague. I want to pray for Teague that Jennifer mentioned, and we got to pray for Nikki and what she's going through with her feet and everything else. Is there anything else we need to pray for? I don't know where Matthew Buck is. So I assume he's at work. So, all right. Let's pray. Jeff, Jankowski?
Yep.
So can you pray for Nikki and Teague and close our class, please?
You bet.
And pray for Whitney that she has a safe trip back, because we're going to the airport from here.
We'll do it. Dear God, we just thank you again for letting us gather either in person or via technology. And God, we thank you for Don and the time he puts into this class. Thank you for the wisdom that he's able to convey to us. And as we learn about you.